Our history begins about 150 years ago. Beirholm was founded by Peter Mogensen Beirholm on a small Danish farm near Vonsild in 1870. At first, the small manual weaving mill was a source of supplementary income for the farm, and weaving was only done when ordered by customers. Peter Mogensen Beirholm's son Jakob, who started working in the family business in his youth, established his own manual weaving mill in 1877, in continuation of his father's weaving undertaking. As the Industrial Revolution gradually made serious inroads in Denmark, it became necessary to modernise. The manual power at the weaving mill was replaced by mechanical power, and the business model was reassessed. Now the weaving mill had to make its own money, with commercial sales in mind. In the years that followed, the business does so well that it gradually runs out of space and has to relocate to new premises in 1905, on Dalbogil in Kolding. This modern setting makes it possible to increase production when the need arises. And it does. From the premises in Kolding, the output is now marketed all over Denmark, even in Copenhagen. In 1921, the time arrives to transfer ownership to the next generation, and Jakob's sons, Peter and Jes, join the company management. It turns out, however, that the brothers are occasionally at odds with each other. At first, they resolve these problems by sharing the work between them. Peter leads the factory operations, while Jes manages administration and sales. The brothers decide to go their separate ways, and Peter builds his own weaving mill on Dronning Olgas Allé in Vonsild, while Jes continues to run the weaving mill in Kolding. But the brothers fail to consider one thing: the Second World War. Shortages mean that the yarn used in the production process is rationed, and the yarn quotas are allotted to the weaving mill in Kolding. This prompts the brothers to change policy and continue their cooperation, which they do until Jes passes away in 1953. In the late 1950s, privately owned laundries in Denmark undergo a structural transformation. Commercial laundries begin buying textiles and renting them to the hotel sector and other customers. It's also during the 1950s, 1956 to be exact, when Peter's son Mogens joins the company. In the following years, Mogens Beirholm manages the company in close cooperation with his older brother Bent. It gradually becomes evident that the company's financial affairs and situation are faltering to such an extent that the bank demands collateral in private property and in the company's equipment, fixtures and fittings. This prompts the brothers to sell the buildings on Dronning Olgas Allé and consolidate all the activities on Dalbogil. In the late 60s, Mogens Beirholm replaces large segments of the production apparatus with 28 modern, newly purchased Swiss looms to meet the rising customer demand for the weaving of special patterns and interwoven names. The financial situation was gradually brought under control, and in 1972, Beirholm was able to relocate to larger, more modern premises on Industrivej. In the late 1970s, the situation in Denmark became so critical that it was very difficult to run a profitable textile production business, even by running the looms round the clock. The time had come to do away with in-house production, which was why the looms were sold in 1978 to Vejle Textile Fabric, who produced textiles for Beirholm while Mogens looked for alternative suppliers. As early as the 1950s, Mogens had had his eye on the potential for highly lucrative imports from Eastern Europe, and he had started to import products from this region little by little. So rather than producing or buying goods in Denmark, Beirholm's Väjerea started having them produced on a large scale in Hungary, Poland, Czechoslovakia, and later on Yugoslavia. This turned out to be a competitive business model. Like the generations before him, Mogens insisted that a high level of uniform quality was paramount. In 1984, the fifth generation of the Beirholm's family, Mogens' son Peter, begins working for the company. Peter buys the company in 1987, and developments have proceeded apace ever since. The company begins its very successful exports of products and Danish know-how to Germany, the Netherlands and Austria in the early 1990s. Over time, the focus shifted to three core areas of business: selling operational fit textiles to achieve operational excellence in the laundries, market fit textiles to ensure that the laundries have the right assortments for their customers, business development to ensure the laundries better market share opportunities and to ensure them proper risk management. Today, Beirholm is the leading supplier of industrial textiles to rental laundries in Western Europe. Over time, Beirholm has changed into an outright knowledge-based company, where we meet the demanding and changing needs of our customers by understanding the nature of the challenges they face, as well as by developing equal, efficient teamwork among our global partners. The only visible bridges spanning the 5 generations are the mix of our business and cultural heritage. This consists of the vital feel and passion for textiles in all sorts of production and user permutations, our respect for close, open cooperation with partners, our curiosity to learn from others, and the willingness to share our knowledge with others. Today, we are facing yet another generational change, where the 6th generation is about to write the next chapter of the company's history.